Welcome back to Joe's Astrology, and I want to do a part two for Nature Boy's astrology, and I'm going to include, as far as I know, the judge in his case. I'm going to include her astrology. I don't have the birth time. I think the day is correct. I have her chart overlaid there at the bottom of his chart. It's really hard to see, but I have it in my mind as we go on here. And the big thing I wanted to point out here in this part two version is that Nature Boy represents Uranus. And the judge, as what we would expect, represents Saturn. And the reason why this is important is because this is what we see when you start studying astrology. You start to see how Uranus and Saturn play out the scene. Uranus likes to break down the form, create new ideas, uh, break down the old, outmoded, outdated, and Saturn tries to keep things the way they used to be, to keep things the same. And in her chart, she has Saturn in Aries conjunct the North Node. So here in the big chart here, we can see Nature Boy's North Node. She has Saturn, Mars, Sun, and Moon all here around the North Node in the sign of Aries. So all those planets, Saturn, Mars, North Node, Moon, Sun, they're ruled by Mars. And Saturn is in a Mars-ruled sign. And this is very heavy directed energy towards a non-thinker, someone who just goes along, speaks her mind first, and it doesn't matter what you say. Just like a judge, just like you saw in the courtroom. You're not going to speak. This is what's going to happen, etc., etc. Now, I'm not sure. I don't really study crime and law and those things, so I'm not sure if all judges are like that. It does fit the mold, so probably more likely than not, most of them are. But here it is in the chart, just a very like headstrong, like a parent, just like the state is, or just like Saturn is. Saturn is as a parent. Why am I doing this? Because I said so. There's no explanation. It's because I said so. Saturn in Aries. Well, what about this? What about that one? No, nope. Because I said so. Because that's the rule. That's the law. And we look at Nature Boy's chart. We have Saturn in Libra. Now it is retrograde, so you could see he's got this. Probably has more experience of this Saturn in Libra, Saturn in Aries, where you can see the Saturn in Aries is just Saturn in Aries. No experience whatsoever um, listening to other viewpoints, Uranian viewpoints. And we could see she has Jupiter in Leo. Now Nature Boy has some Leo. He's got the Moon in Leo in the ninth. That's all that traveling, to different places and the philosophy and Jupiter in Leo. Now, we don't know what houses they are in her chart, so we can't say much. We can't really definitively say much or interpret the chart. But Jupiter in Leo, that's expanding that me, kind of what you might have thought you saw, or what you think you see, or what you saw in Nature Boy, that attention, trying to seek attention, um, being at the top of the courtroom, et cetera, et cetera. That's her play. That's her theater, and it's really expanded with that Jupiter in Leo. Now she also has Venus in Pisces, and Nature Boy has Venus in Pisces. So you think this is the one saving grace, although it's conjunct Mercury. And in many of the people that I've seen looking at charts that have Mercury and Venus conjunct, they love. Well, the people that I have met have been thinkers, but most of them have had mental health issues, and I don't mean like real deep mental health issues, just like low level depression, um, hard to deal with life. I don't know if I would call it mental health, uh, like clinical mental health, but definitely had a hard time dealing with daily life. And we'll say, her only saving grace with this chart is this Venus in Pisces. I mean, but again, it's conjunct that Mercury. And the nature boy has Venus in Pisces. And what I mean by that is usually it's someone who wants to help people, and you could see she probably does want to help people in her own way, with filtered through the state, and what she knows, uh, and we can look at Nature Boy's Venus and see, and if you watched him, you know this because he admitted it. He enjoys to have sex, and we have Venus in the fifth, and it's not even just that; it's just the attraction with that Venus and Pisces in the fifth, the attraction of lots of sex. It's hard to get away from, and not everyone has. There's people that have the other way where they have a hard time getting partnerships, etc., etc. And in his world, it's probably difficult to get away from that. And that's where you might see with the polygamy. This is definitely could be a signature for polygamy, and definitely with the Uranus and then all this Libra up here. And we see this Mercury in the seventh, meaning he's interested in relationships. He's interested in figuring things out, and kind of going through the therapy with people. Now, Mercury in 29 degrees it could be in the seventh house, a powerful Mercury. Is he a trickster? Is he an analytical guy? Sure, he might be a trickster. He might be a manipulator. Uh, does being a manipulator mean that you're evil or that you should be in prison? I'm not sure. I mean, manipulation happens on all kinds of levels every day. So having a Mercury at 29 degrees, does that make you a trickster, manipulator? That's up for debate. And you got to remember with astrology, you can't, like, I can look at this. If I look at this, try to be as unbiased as possible. I'm not a big fan of the judge's chart. Let's just say that, unless she is higher up on very high spiritual person, which isn't, if you're a judge, you're probably not. Very dogmatic. You might be a dogmatic person. You might be a good Christian. So back to this chart here, we have Jupiter and Scorpio kind of making, or Venus is moving away from a trine with that Jupiter and Scorpio. So more Scorpio is the sex sign. We know the ascendant is Scorpio. Again, more expanding that sex appeal, expanding that sexual attention, expanding the interest in the occult. Got the North Node here in the ninth, could be in the eighth. Moving strongly towards the occult. With this chart, with the ruler being the moon in the ninth, all the traveling and the learning and the philosophy that's moving him towards the occult, moving him towards the unseen. You can see in his second house where he values what he values. He has Neptune there. Valuing the unseen, valuing spirituality, being disillusioned by spirituality with the imprisonment. But yeah, it's interesting to see the Saturn in Libra versus the judge with Saturn in Aries. Now she's got South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries, so she's bringing that, when Pluto in Virgo, bringing that analytical interest in social equity and social justice from the past, and she's bringing it strong into the present with that Aries. So whatever work she's done in the past for this social justice, she's not changing her mind. It is what it is. She's ready to bring it forth and bring social justice to the world. Try to get in some more negative things about this chart. You could see the control. That's the 6th house, 12th house, Pisces, Virgo. You can see the control, the eating the vegetarianism, things like that. It's not necessarily not necessarily negative. I mean, in reality, a lot of the things are going on in many people's personal lives, and they'll never be jailed for it. Um, people usually don't speak up about it. They definitely don't take it to the state. Many people would just leave if they don't like somebody. Someone's controlling them, etc. Um, so you definitely see that there for sure with the Jupiter in Scorpio, Sun in Taurus, Mercury in Taurus. I don't have Chiron here. I don't have any of the other things. We do have a square to the nodes with Saturn. Um, with that emphasis moving into the eighth house and the occult,